Hey everybody, this is Undead Viking. I want to talk to you about this game today. It's called Small Star Empire. Small Star Empires is kind of a micro game, if you will. I don't really like that connotation. It kind of makes people think that, oh, it isn't really a big game. This is a big game hiding in a little box. I've had a ton of fun with this. Basically, the premise of this is that it's an area control game. Each person will be controlling a fleet of starships, and you'll move these starships across a solar system or a galaxy that you'll create using these little hex tiles, and you'll be stopping in those locations to take over different parts of this like star empire. And then as you move your ships around, you'll actually be like, you know, making your little dominion, if you will. And the more you take over, the tougher you're going to make it on your opponents to be able to get to where they want to move, to be able to control different areas of the same star empires, if you will. So let me show you how to play the game. This game has basically one rule. I love games like this where this is the rule, but we've somehow managed to make this super deep, super challenging game along the way, even though we only have that one basic mechanism that you have to abide by. So let me show you how to play Small Star Empires, and then we'll come back here and I'll talk more about why I really dig it. Alright, cool. This is Small Star Empires, and I've gone ahead and set up a 4-player game. Now, Small Star Empires is all about area control. You are going to be moving these pawns, which represent your starships, across the board from one spot to another in any one orthogonal direction as far as the hexes are concerned. So you can go this way or that way, or just follow the hexes. And you get to move until you decide to stop, or you have to stop because of the fact that something is blocking you. Basically, you can't move through something that would damage your ship, like a black hole or asteroids or what have you, and you can't move through your opponent as far as any place that they have one of their starships or they've established control. So when you move, you just get to pick how many spaces you move. So if you moved your red guy here to here and you'd stop, you'd either place what's called one of these little discs here, like this little red disc, that is a colony, and you place it in that spot, or you place a trading post, which is one of these little cubes. Now, the number of colonies, the number of ships, and the number of trading posts you get is different for each number of players. And I played this game with 4 players, I played it with 3, I played it with 2. It's been fun with every single one of the player sets. I played it at work, I played it with my wife, I played it with my daughter. We've all had a blast playing it, and my gaming group took a shine to this immediately just because of the very simple rules of the game. So the whole thing is that each person takes a turn, and you determine the first player, whoever you're going to determine. And you do, like I said, you're going to take one of your ships and you're just going to move it, and you're going to have them stop in a spot, and then you go ahead and decide if you're going to place a colony or if you're going to place a trading post. Now, the big difference between the colony and trading post is, well, one, you only get 2 trading posts. In this particular, with a 4-player game, you get 2 trading posts and 10 colonies. You get more with less players. But when you establish a colony, you're going to get the points for controlling that particular spot. When you establish a trading post, you get points for your opponents establishing control near your spot. So just keep that in mind. So, but here's the deal. When you control a location, like one of these spots that has these little planets on it, you're going to score the amount of points that there are planets in that spot. So here's one with 3 planets, you'd score 3. Here's one with 2, you'd score 2. Here's one with 1, you'd score 1. Pretty straightforward, right? If you control one of these middle spots, it's just open space, you don't get anything for that. However, if you had like a trading post in one of those spots, which is usually pretty common, and you had players set up around your location like so, you're going to get points at the end of the game for each one of those spots that they are controlling along with it. So that's like what you want to do. That's like a really basic strategy of the game. Now, there is a more advanced level of the game where you'll be using these tiles, and I'll show that to you in just a little bit. But I just want to make sure I go through the basic mechanism of the game. So on your turn, you take one of your ships, you move it as far as you want, and you take over a spot, and then you place your control marker on that location. Now, I should mention that you can notice that there are these nebulas here. Nebulas are important because of the fact that the more you control of the color of the nebula, the more points those are going to be worth at the end of the game. And if you manage to control all the colors of the nebula that are out there, that's worth extra points as well. So something to keep in mind. Now, eventually what's going to happen, and I'm not going to show the entire game, if you will. I'm not going to show each and every move. Because of the fact that you can only just move in one direction, you can't turn. You can't, spin around and find your spots. Eventually, things are going to get congested, and your possibility of making moves is going to be lessened each and every turn. And it is very, very possible that eventually you are just not going to be able to take a turn. You're not going to be able to move either one of your spaceships because of the fact that you can't either go through an obstruction that's on the board, as far as like one of these special tiles. They have tiles in there that are black holes or asteroid fields, things like that. Or you're boxed in because of your opponent's controlling area around where your spaceships are, because you can't go through somebody else's spot. So basically, when you make a move, you can move into any unoccupied star system, nebula, or empty system that is in line with one of your ships. So you can go like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, all the different directions on the hexes. But you can't move into or pass through a black hole. You can't, if there's like these wormholes there, you can't like move into them. So like basically you can't stop on a wormhole. You have to use a wormhole to transport, but I'll explain that in just a second. And you can't move into or pass through a system that is already controlled by a player. Now, move into means like stopping, basically. You can't stop in somebody else's spot that somebody else controls. Also, you can't stop in a spot that you control. You always have to go into a spot that is open and available for you to put one of your markers in that location. But you can always move through your own systems. So if you get to the point where you can't make any valid moves anymore, you have to pass, and then you're done for the rest of the game. And everybody else gets to finish off their moves until they also have to pass, or they finish putting all of their colonies or trading posts on the board. And it is very possible, and I've had games like this, where nobody ever had to pass, and everybody just kept playing until all of their tokens are on the board, and then, of course, at that point, you end the game as well. So when the end game happens, that's when you're going to total up your total points. As I said, for each one of these planets that has one planet on it, you'll get 1 point. For the planets with for the systems with 2 planets, you get 2. For the systems with 3 planets, you get 3. But you get 2 points for controlling one nebula of one color. You get 5 points if you have 2 nebulas of one color, and you have 8 points if you have all nebula of the one color. And you do that for each color of the nebula. So if you were green and you had 1 blue, you had 2 red, and all of the green nebula that are on the board, then you would score 2 points for the red, 5 points for the blue, and 8 points for the green. So like you do total those up for each one of those. And I should mention that each one of these tiles is double-sided, and so you can kind of flip, you decide which side you're on, and you can randomize that up pretty easily. Then you get 1 point from each of your trade stations that is adjacent to a colony or a trade station or home system, and these are the home systems right here that belong to other players. And you get 3 bonus points to the person that has the largest territory, which is the most single systems connected together. Because you're not going to end up with a bunch of systems that are connected just because of the kind of chaos of everybody moving around and dropping their area control tokens everywhere. But if you can manage to have like a chunk of space, like 5, 6, 7, 8 sectors or whatever, that's the most, you'll get a bonus of 3 points in that situation. If you end up with a tie with the points, the player who has the most unspent colonies is the winner of the game. And so like basically you manage to score a lot of points without putting a lot of control markers out there, you get a bonus for that. And that's how you break ties. Now, there are, as I said, a bunch of these little tiles over here. And what these tiles do is that you pick them randomly and you place them in the center tile of each of these each one of these major tiles. And so you're not going to use all of them. You shuffle them up and you pick the ones. And you can, if you want, as far as the setup goes, you can set up the game however you want. You can set it up purposely with black holes or wormholes or whatever you want. But, you know, you can, but what we've done mostly is just randomly place one each of these locations and gone ahead and just, you know, when you move into those, you flip them over and you experience what's in it. So like this is an asteroid field. If you moved one of your ships into the asteroid field, they are what's called damaged, and then they immediately have to go back to their starting star system, and then you can move from that point after you've discovered that. And once that has been discovered, the asteroid field is impenetrable and nobody can travel through it after that has been a discovered spot. Now there's more than just asteroid fields, obviously. Let me actually show you what the rest of these little mystery tiles are and what they do. Alright, so these are wormholes. Wormholes work, they're the one thing that you can use that'll actually allow you to change direction. So if you have wormholes on the board, and like you have, say, your red starship here, and like you've taken control of this from your last move. If you move into the wormhole, then you can pop up over here. You can't stop in the wormhole, you can't control it, but now when you move through, you now can reverse direction. You can go any other direction once you pop out. And so you could go here and then move over here to take over this nice 3-spotter right there, and use the wormhole to switch around like that. Black holes just serve as a spot that cannot be penetrated. You just can't move through that. Then you have some other things, like you can just randomly get a 3-point scoring tile as a possibility. You have what is called a refueling station, which looks like this. When you enter the system, you can colonize it, and then you may move your ship onto an adjacent non-control system and colonize it as well. And you get a bonus point for controlling this one. So you kind of get an extra move, if you will. So like you go on there, you control it, and then you can immediately move again and control another spot over there. This is an abandoned trade station. Basically, it works like a trade station. Like, you know, normally, like in a 4-player game, you only get 2, but if you find this, you get an extra trade station, and then you get bonus points, an extra bonus point for controlling that at the end of the game. This is a tricolored nebula, and basically, you can probably guess, you get to pick what color the nebula is at the end of the game for your end game scoring. If this is what's called, I believe this is called, I think it was like the Tenar Union. If you colonize this, each player that controls at least one system next to the Tenar Union at the end of the game, you get an extra 2 bonus points. And then if you control the actual union, you get 1 bonus point for controlling it. This is what's called the Helena Federation. If you colonize it, the player who controls the systems adjacent to the Helena Federation gain 3 bonus points at the end of the game, and if you control it, you get 2 bonus points. You get just 2 for controlling that. And the final one, I like this one. I forget what the name is. Hold on, let me look it up real quick. This one is called the Norden Empire. And when you control this, so like this is one thing that you can do, you can actually use that it can actually like mess with other people. So if you move into this spot, say like Green moved into that spot, and they took that over, like so, then they can take control of a sector that another player controls and take it over automatically. So if they move in there lucky enough, they get to control that. If there's nobody that controls, like anything that controls it, an opponent controls it, you can just move into another spot and take control of it as well. So those added tiles, I didn't show them during the base game, but you don't have to use them. The game is a lot of fun without them, but I really like, I mean, when I play with my daughter, I didn't use those just because it adds some rules, and so I just wanted to kind of teach her the idea of like the limited movement and you know, making sure you pick your spots and area control and things like that. But when I played with my gaming group, we added those tiles, and that added a lot of fun to the game. And they actually have like some cool setups where like you just use the wormholes. Like everybody has their own kind of like separate little galaxy, if you will. And then like the wormholes actually connect the galaxies to each other, and so like you can kind of pop around to normally, like, you know, so like for example, like if you know, this would be off by itself and this would be off by itself. And the only way you can get that is like by going through a wormhole, like in this location, that would pop you back and forth. Things like that you can add and change and switch up what the game that really adds to the variability and the replayability of the game as well. I mean, the game is just fantastic. It's a lot of fun. You know, it's light. Admittedly, it is kind of in that micro game world, but it is a really, really tough to win micro game. You're always going to be challenged as far as which ship you want to move, where do you want to move it to, and like how are you going to do your move to affect your opponent to kind of like, you know, stymie them and close them in and limit their choices as well. So each turn is its own little kind of fun little puzzle that I enjoy playing. So, and I've been talking a lot about puzzle games lately, and I really, really like this one. So, let me talk more about that in my conclusion, which I will do right now. Alright, thank you very much for sitting through the gameplay portion of the video. As I said, there's like one rule. Move your ship. Move your ship as far or as little as you want. Take over the spot that you just entered. Let somebody else take a turn. That's the entire game. But there's so much more to the game than just that small little rule. Because of the fact, as I alluded to at the end of the gameplay portion, you're constantly making a decision as far as which ship I'm going to move. And trust me, like when you have 2 players, you have like 4 ships. So you have all these different options as far as ships you can move. Here you'd have 2, which is still tough because of the fact that everybody else has those 2 ships. And you're butting up against each other and you're blocking each other off. And you're like sometimes taking moves just to put your ship and take over a spot that is directly in the way of somebody else you know that wanted to go that direction on their turn. And so I have fun more in the game, and this is probably why I didn't win very much. I have more fun in the game trying to move my ships to spots where I'm just messing with people. There's nothing I like more than getting in the way and putting my control tokens in those spots. Now, if I played more optimally and actually were like trying to optimize my points each turn instead of trying to mess with people, I might be more successful with the game. But you know, that's the way I've had fun, and I've come close to winning a few times. I haven't won yet, but I mean, I've had fun every single time I played the game, and I love the idea of it. Now, obviously, it didn't have to be Star Empires. It could have, you know, been any theme, and it would have worked just fine. But I think it works very well with this. It has a nice immersion. It has a nice feel to it as far as, you know, just watching your fledgling Star Empire grow and expand through your actions. Now, basically, if you like area control games, if you like games like this, I think you're going to really enjoy this. If you like games with spatial movement and with the added bonus of these like random tiles, I think you're really going to dig that as well. As I said in the gameplay, there's a ton of variability because of the fact that you can set this game up in so many different ways. You can set, there's no set method of putting these things together. They even said, you know, it's like, have fun with it. You know, make crazy maps, make crazy variants, do whatever you want. You know, just because of the fact that the weirder and the like, when you make a square, you know, as far as being able to move long distances, you're kind of opening up a lot of areas. But you can purposely make those things like less. You can kind of, you know, make it a shorter like this way and make it long, you know, like as far as that goes. And so you don't, you know, you kind of have to zigzag your way up and down through the hex movement. There's all kinds of things like that you can do. And each time you change up the map, each time you change up the tiles that you use, things like that, you're just going to be adding a different level of variability, a different level of challenge to the game, and I think you're going to enjoy it as much as I have. If you dig games like this, where you know it's one of those things where you have to kind of outthink your opponent, but also kind of just maximize turns, I think you're really going to like Small Star Empires. So there you go. If you have any questions about the game, please ask away. I'll be happy to answer those to the best of my ability. As always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, and I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.